All right, so I'm going to do my, hold up, my reflection and my final assignment for EDSE 642, which is an autism class. Um, and I'm going to react to two separate videos. The first one I'm going to react to is Retchers and Jabbers, which was a video about two men with autism, and they traveled the world and went on a global journey um, to educate about disabilities and individuals who experience autism. And they're sharing their story and how they grew up. And they're I think Tracy is 42 and Larry is 52. And they talk about when they were younger, they were assumed to be retarded because of their communication barriers and how they overcame that. And now there's a movie made after them called Buddy, I believe, and it gives a perspective into the world of autism, which is kind of cool. And the second video is Taylor Crow or Crow, I'm not sure how you say the last name, and his video was kind of cool. There was a part 2 and 3, and I didn't watch, but I do plan on watching part 2 and 3. And it was kind of him talking about his story, but then also other people's stories of how autism can come about, that you can be born with, having the traits automatically. You can go up to 2 years like he did with typical development. Hitting all of his normal milestones, talking, crawling, walking, everything. And then he started to regress and showing symptoms around 3, 4. And then by the time he hit 4, he had regressed enough that he had more, skills and abilities when he was 2 than when he was 4. And so it definitely became clear that there was something going on. And then he talks about other individuals, mainly if you have Asperger's, more higher functioning autism, that can go all the way up until grade school without being identified and diagnosed. Because maybe you just might come off as a little quirky or just have, we're all different, even if we don't have autism. And so you might take a little bit longer to notice maybe those social awkwardnesses or that genius in one area and maybe struggling in other areas. Yeah. And so that was the 2 videos. And then, and then fieldwork aha moments. So I was in a primary SR room, meaning a primary structured resource. So every child in that classroom had autism. And I think all my aha moments were kind of around using the PECS boards or iPads. And one was when a little boy was using like an actual PECS board with like Velcro versus the tablet, and getting to hear from the lead teacher why he wasn't using the tablet, but the other 3 nonverbal students in the room were. And she explained that it was a process to get there and that he was really struggling with the concept of the book, which was the original PECS as a book full of, little Velcro pieces that you take off and you use to communicate. And so they went to just one straight board with not very many options, and they're starting to see progress there, but it's going to take time before he actually builds to using the iPad. And then the second maybe aha moment was, again, with PAX, a different little boy who had the iPad, but it didn't have any volume and voice for him. And this little boy is so quiet for a while. I kind of just wondered, they just forget to turn it on. And he has language. He is verbal, but very limited, and kind of speaks 1, 2, 3 word phrases at a time, and doesn't speak often and is very quiet. And so they're trying to encourage him to use his voice and kind of almost force him to. So he still uses the PECS board. He still finds what he wants to say. I want food, or I want cracker, please. And he uses it, but he says the words as he goes. And so you just have to be really patient, really quiet to hear him. And that was kind of cool. So I learned a lot about the PECS communication system. And then my social skills lesson. It went so much better than I actually imagined. It was my first time teaching a social skills lesson. And I'm sitting here and I got my steps. I don't know how that works. So anyways, I had 2 little boys and I did it on turn taking. And so I kind of started with showing them my social story. I posed a question. First, I asked them what it meant to take, I guess, how do you take turns? What does it mean to take turns? And neither of them could answer the question. They both kind of just sat there. So then I kind of turned it around and I modeled so they could see what I was doing. And they had little game boards in front of them. They already knew they were going to be playing a game. That's how that was kind of my buy-in for this. And I took 2 pieces and I moved them at the exact same time. And I said, is that taking turns? We both went at the exact same time. And one little boy, he kind of got a smile on his face, like, Miss Wilson, like, that was a silly question. He said, no. And I was like, oh, that's right. We can't go at the same time. That's not taking turns. And so then I took the pieces off and then I called them name by name. I said, okay, A, it's your turn. So I'm going to move the piece here. Okay, B, it's your turn to move the piece here. And then I repeated the question, was that taking turns, going one at a time? And the same little boy said yes. And so I I kept the pieces there and I went over to the other little boy who wasn't answering, but he was engaged, he was watching. And I asked him, I said, so if your friend goes and then you go, is that taking turns? You did not go at the same time. And he also responded, yes. I think actually he just shook his head. I don't think he said anything. And so I had kind of got them engaged. We were talking about turn taking. I actually showed them a little video as well that I had found on YouTube, and it was a good turn taking social story. Excuse me. So then we played the game, and it was a sight word game where they had to push a button, and then whichever it was like a landscape. So if it was a tree, they had to take the word that had a tree, put it in, and say the word. And then they had to go back and forth, not go at the same time. And I reminded them to have calm body, calm hands, not talk while the other person was going. And my biggest goal was to not, oh my gosh, I just realized the time. I got to stop talking. Was to not talk a lot and not do a lot of the work. And to kind of get them going back and forth without me saying, your turn, now your turn, now your turn. And they did really well, and we got there, and they did awesome at the game, and I had to mostly remind calm hands, calm body, because they wanted to touch each other and touch the game pieces. But other than that, it was great, and I'm way over my time, so I'm going to stop talking. Bye.